What's up, everybody? It's the FPL guys live stream here. How are you going? Whew. It's been a long day for me, but as I'm going away tomorrow, I thought I would just do a little live stream and say goodbye to you all for a few weeks. So the Community Shield yesterday was very insightful. I would say that I have definitely knee-jerked a couple of players at least into my team because of that. So let's get started straight away and have a look at my team. So there we go. At the moment, I've got David De Gea in goal. I'm really not sure how Man United are going to do this season, but he has been consistently the best goalkeeper in the game. And even though they're not looking great, I still think that they're probably going to be quite strong defensively. Jeffrey Schlupp, we all know about, 4.5 million Crystal Palace defender playing in left midfield. Van Dijk. Now, I originally had Robertson, but I'm thinking that Van Dijk is probably slightly more nailed, having seen that Alberto Moreno screamer goal into the top corner the other day against Napoli. And I think basically Van Dijk is basically undroppable. If anybody's going to be rotated, it's definitely not going to be him. He's looked very strong for attacking returns from corners as well. So, yeah, I'm going with Van Dijk at the moment. Lowton makes up the defensive line, although I do have Stones on the bench. He's played fantastically well, Lowton, and in the Aberdeen game, he made an absolutely fantastic cross for Vokes, and Vokes slammed their header into the crossbar. So it could have gone. He could have had even more assists. I think he had 3 assists in pre-season, so he's looking very good. Townsend is another player who's looked very good for Crystal Palace in their pre-season games. And then we've got Bernardo Silva. Now, he is the main knee-jerk from yesterday, him and Aguero. Yeah, basically, my sights were set on Mahrez, but he looks a little bit overawed at the moment in a City shirt, and I think he needs a little bit of time to get up to speed, whereas Bilva was by far the best player on the pitch yesterday, by far. And if Pep comes out and says that Bernardo is playing and then there'll be 10 others, that means that he's definitely nailed at least for a few games. What was interesting about Bilva is he made 35 appearances last season. 20 of those did come off the bench, but that tells me that Pep wanted to play him more and more and more. And then we have Mohamed Salah. Basically, you can't go without him, and if you have him, you have to captain him. Goodmanson has looked sharp in the Europa League games as well. Seems to be on corners and also some set pieces when Brady is not available, and like he's not available at the moment. Jota is somebody we've talked about, out of position for Wolves. I think Wolves are going to do well this season. Aguero looked absolutely fantastic yesterday. Scored with his left foot and his right foot, I think. Doesn't need a lot of time on the ball. Made Rudiger look amateur yesterday. I think when he's on form, he could score a lot of goals, and City have an absolutely fantastic opening set of fixtures. And to complete my starting 11, I've got Bobby Firmino. And Firmino is another one who can potentially improve on last season, even though he did very well. He was one of only 3 forwards to outscore the 6 million David De Gea. Excuse me. And it's either him or Mane. So at the moment, I think he's the best forward in that price bracket. And we might look at exchanging him for Vardy if Vardy goes on a good run, or if Maddison does as well as he could be expected to do. Stecklenberg is a placeholder. He's looked absolutely terrible as backup for Pickford in the latest friendly games. Jimenez, I think, is going to do quite well this season. I expect Jimenez to get about 12 goals, maybe. Scored again in the preseason game the other day. Can't remember who it was again, so I watched too many games. But he looked bright, and they've already got a very nice team chemistry between himself, Costa, and Jota. And with the signing of, I think they've just signed Traore, or they're about to. So I think he's going to get even more chances potentially. Wan-Bissaka has to be in the team. He's a 4.0 who's nailed, and he's just a massive enabler for everybody else. He's nailed in a good team, so that eliminates Peltier and Bednarak as the other potential 4.0 defenders, with Crystal Palace looking so strong at the moment. And then Stones is a funny one, 5.5. He may very well, if City don't sign another midfielder, he may very well slot into a defensive midfield role for City, which means more minutes as well. And I think he's possibly edging it over Laporte, and certainly Company at the start for fitness. And also, given that he can do a job for City in midfield, then I think he's a lot more nailed than a couple of the others. It's also a little way into the City defense, and it was either a 6.0 defender plus Edison, or De Gea and Stones at 5.5, or somebody else at 5.5. So I'm sitting on Stones at the moment. I don't like Luiz. He looked like he was a bit lost yesterday. He looked like he turned up to the wrong game. Okay, I'm gonna take some of your questions now. Sane or Mahrez? Well, Sane looked terrible, absolutely terrible, and Mahrez looked a little bit overawed by the occasion, and finally getting to wear the City shirt. So I think Mahrez will be played more. I think he's got more potential as well. He's a little bit older. There's a reason he was player of the season when Leicester won the league. It's because he is generally quite composed, quite clever on the ball. He just seems to have many more qualities than Sane does. When I think about Sane, I think about his speed, but what about anything else? Is his crossing? I think Mahrez is better at crossing. I think Mahrez is probably a better finisher. Mahrez is probably a little bit more of a clever footballer than Sane. I think Pep prefers Mahrez. They waited a long time to get him, and they paid a club record fee for him. So I think Mahrez is going to get a lot of chances, and Sane looked off the pace. He really did look off the pace. Maybe he got a little bit depressed over the summer with not making the Germany squad, and then Germany doing so badly at the World Cup. I think it's quite understandable that he's a little bit out of sorts. Hey Barat, how are you going? Liam, thanks for joining us. Bruno, thank you for turning up as well. Love the Burnley Blaze being put in. Think they're going to walk over Southampton, honestly. Same here, mate. Same here. I think, a lot of the teams who play in Europa League, they've often done quite well, unless they're, unless they're an Arsenal or a Chelsea who've dropped down. But like Burnley have done, Burnley are coming off the back of a great season. Playing Europa League gives you a big boost. Like I remember the Leeds United games in the UEFA Cup, which was the name for the Europa League back then. And there's nothing quite like European nights. The crowd, everybody is lifted out of the stadium up into the air, up into the clouds, and it's so loud and it's so invigorating and so energizing. I think Burnley will start one of the stronger teams at the start of this season. Certainly Arsenal looked tired. Chelsea looked shell-shocked and out of sorts yesterday. City looked so strong, so hungry. Palace look really strong, really, really, really good in form, working well together. Wolves the same, Burnley the same, Liverpool the same. So I think although it wasn't particularly convincing at all against Aberdeen in the Europa League qualifiers, I think those competitive games will have lifted those players and that team so much. I think they will start this season very well indeed. And Southampton have looked absolutely terrible. I expect them to get steamrolled, and I also expect Everton to lose at Wolves. Isn't PVA a better option to Schlupp? That's debatable. The thing with Schlupp is he's 1 million cheaper, and he's playing further in front of PVA. I expect Schlupp to get more assists. I expect Schlupp to get more goals. That's not saying that I don't expect PVA to get goals. I think PVA will. I think he'll get maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 goals this season, because he's a very attack-minded defender. But Schlupp is playing in the left midfield, and it's expected of him. You know, he could get upwards of 15 returns. So he's already scored a few goals in pre-season. So yeah, I'm expecting good things from Schlupp, but also he's 1 million cheaper. So I mean that is the difference between Pickford and De Gea, or Mahrez and De Bruyne, for example, or whatever. 1 million is a lot when you've only got 100 million budget. Zoma, what up, bruv? Thanks for coming on board. Barat says, shouldn't Stones be your first sub, or at least ahead of Wan-Bissaka? Yeah, I'm thinking about that. I think Jimenez is a good bet to score against Everton, to be honest. And I think Arsenal at home, with the crowd pumped this season, I think that Arsenal could possibly at least score. Man City played Arsenal at the Emirates last season. They won 3-0. So I'm expecting Arsenal to do a little bit better with the new coach, the crowd being really up for it. I don't think they're playing particularly well. They're playing the new system, and they're doing not the worst at it, but and they're missing players in some key positions. So Kolasinac is out, and Monreal hasn't come back yet. So even though Ashley Maitland-Niles is a good player, they're still looking a little bit weak. And yeah, I mean, City are going to win. City will win that game, but I'm not sure that they'll get a clean sheet. Now, if it was at home, Stones would probably be on the pitch. I expect Stones to get a few goals as well if he plays. Liam says, what made you pick Lowton over me? Me has much higher threat. Is it just a hunch you have? Yeah, it's just a little bit of... It's two things. The reason why me has such a high threat is that they're very dangerous. Burnley are very dangerous on set plays, and set plays are very important to them because they're a defence-minded team. So when you get an attacking-minded team, then your wing-backs and your full-backs are going to be pushing forward. So in those kinds of teams, think about Chelsea last season, for example, their wing-backs, or Man City wing-backs or full-backs, they've got much more threat going on about them. But with Burnley, it's more about corners and set plays, and they get the big guys from the back into the area. But with me, two things. Just one thing is really concerning to me is that Gibson has been brought in. I think that's his name. And so I think he could become a bit of a rotation risk. And the other thing was that against Aberdeen, Loughton put in a beautiful ball and Vokes smashed it onto the crossbar. And also Loughton had already got 3 assists. I think it probably was in one game, but he'd already got 3 assists. You know what I mean? So when they're playing slightly weaker opposition, the fullbacks do get up and they do start attacking more, to Burnley. And they've got big guys up front in terms of Barnes, Vokes and Wood. And I just think that they're a threat from those crosses, and because they're a bit more confident and they're a bit more match fit from Europa League, I think the Burnley's fullbacks will come into play. And he just certainly looked great. I mean, I as a striker, if Loughton was banging in crosses like that'd be a field day for me. I'd love that. David, hi mate, great content, valuable information, keep going. Thanks bruv, really appreciate that, thank you. If you've got any questions, just fire away, let me know. Zoma, who do you think will win the league? I think it's got to be City, doesn't it? Liverpool could push them very hard though, very hard. If you look at Liverpool last season, the last couple of seasons, and Klopp's teams in general, they're much more cup teams. They play with their heart, they play with passion, high intensity. They, on their day, they can beat anybody because their belief is so strong. But they've always looked a little bit jaded, a little bit tired, and a little bit shallow in the depth of their squads to win a league. But if you look at the players that they brought in over summer, they could easily win the Premier League this season. It would be reliant on City not doing so well, but my word, City looked so good yesterday. They really did. I mean, they took Chelsea apart. They made Chelsea look like a Sunday League team at times. And if they're going to do that to Sarri's Chelsea, then they're going to do that to everybody this season. But it's just a case of whether they can maintain that, because they had so much momentum last season, did City. Really hadn't seen a team look like that since Arsenal, the Arsenal Invincibles. And then it all started to fall apart at Anfield. And that 3-0 inside of 30 minutes or something, when the front three of Liverpool just exploded, and I think Chamberlain scored a great goal as well. Maybe that was the Champions League game, can't remember. But anyway, those two games basically, I mean, really sucker punched them, especially the first one, because they hadn't lost at that point in the league. So I think it's going to be a scrap between those two. I think it's possible that City have the edge, but Liverpool signings are incredible. I mean, if anybody else, like in this market, if you look at Shaqiri for 13 million, if anybody else had bought Shaqiri, he'd be walking straight into the first team. Arsenal, Chelsea, even Spurs, Man United, definitely. They definitely need somebody like him. So they've done fantastically well, and good luck to him. Good on him. Thoughts on Charlotte? Bruno. Thanks for coming on, bro, Bruno. Thoughts on Charlotte? I don't really have too many thoughts on him, to be honest. I haven't watched the Bundesliga, but I remember Charlotte being semi-decent at Chelsea, but everybody semi-decent at Chelsea just gets rotated into oblivion, not enough game time, and eventually has to go elsewhere. You've seen it with Lukaku and De Bruyne and Salah. And I hope we don't see it with Hudson-Odoi. We'll talk about him in a second. But yeah, Schürrle is somebody, Fulham is somebody I've still got to have a look at. But to be honest, with so many new players coming into Fulham, they're a little bit hard to judge. I would advise to stay away from their assets until we know what they're like. Yeah, very difficult to bring in a whole bunch of new players and expect the team chemistry to go well. But at the same time, they only had 12 players in the database at the start of the season. So I think they could do well, and he could play a big part of that, especially if Mitrovic gets firing. But we all know he's got temperament problems and all sorts of stuff. So if he maintains that discipline that he showed last season and at the World Cup, I thought he did very well at the World Cup, by the way, not to lose his rag, especially when he got double teamed by the Switzerland's wrestling team. Can I get one of your jerseys if I win the FPL league? I was thinking about the first prize for our head-to-head league, which is in the middle here. The first prize being a shirt of your choice, or of the champions or whatever. But I mean, if you're a Man United fan, you don't want a Liverpool shirt or a Man City shirt if they've won. So I guess just if you win the head-to-head league, I think the first prize could be a shirt of your team choice and whoever you want on the back of it. Whatever name you want on the back of it. If that sounds like a good idea, let me know. And if the audio sounds better, please let me know, because the last time I did the stream, there was a lot of complaints that it was only going through the left channel. So I've tried to change the audio output to mono now, and I really hope that it's better, because I'm not sure what else to do. Quite technically incompetent at some point, and I had to learn new software programs and all sorts of stuff to set all this up. But it's a great question, Barrett, and yeah, if you like that idea about the jerseys, let me know. Okay, audio's better. Thanks a lot, mate. SM, hey buddy, hey SM. When will you bring in Aubameyang? What's your FPL history like? Ranking. Okay, so when will I bring in Aubameyang? If Aubameyang goes on a hot streak, and Aguero isn't going on a hot streak, then I will bring him in. Or if he's going on a hot streak and I don't need to use my free transfer, then I'll bring him in. One of the biggest tips that I've found on FPL is that if there is a player in form, you have to get him in. You have to cash in on that form, because that's where you're going to score your points. Your big hitting forwards are not always going to be scoring, so they're not set and forgets. You have to use your free transfers very wisely. My FPL, I mean, we kind of go through this every stream. I hope we don't have to keep going through it. But basically, I only started last season. Last season was my first season. I had no idea what I was doing. And then after Christmas, I was in my cousin's mini league. After Christmas, they were all doing very well, but I came first, second, or third every month towards the end of the season after I realised what I was doing. I did the Fantasy World Cup, and I came 300th in the world and second in Austria, which is where I live. And I've just basically become totally obsessed with it. I've been involved in football for a long time. Captained my school, I've got my coaching license, I've done all sorts of stuff, but I'd never played fantasy football. So yeah, that's my FPL ranking. We can certainly hope and struggle together this season, see how I can do. At the moment, Lewitz is my first in the first 11. Should I switch him with some other 5.5, 5.0 defender? Already have Robertson, Tarkovsky, Wan-Bissaka, Schlupp. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, David. Okay, so I mean, yeah. You should judge your own eyes. Like to me, Lewis looked terrible yesterday. He looked terrible. In the preseason friendly against Arsenal, he's made several missed passes. I think he had a free kick and just skied it into Rosed. He didn't look like he was carrying any kind of form. Yeah, I'm avoiding Lewis. If you want to get somebody from Chelsea defense, I would go Rudiger. But you said you mentioned your team here. Okay. Robertson, Tarkovsky, Wan-Bissaka, Schlupp. They're all good players. You could start with those four, and you wouldn't do too badly unless Crystal Palace let in a goal and Schlupp didn't get you attacking returns. But yeah, they're going. Me personally, I've gone for Stones, but if you've already got your city slots covered, then you can't do that. Off the top of my head, 5.5s, they include, like Bellerin, but we can't really trust Arsenal. I think Christensen is a better choice than Lewis. But, again, if Lewis finds some form, like he used to play like very well 3 years ago. So if he finds that kind of form again, then that's good. Video is lagging now. Yeah, sorry about that. When I get back from England, so I'm leaving tomorrow, and when I get back from England, I will be installing a new modem here. So hopefully that should increase the kilobyte per second speed. Judging with your own eyes is so important. It is, Liam, because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to look at your own team. And you only get 2 wildcards, so this is the time to do all your tinkering. But now when you're looking at your team, you have to be happy with it. And the only way you can do that is by developing a connection with those players. And the only way to do that is by watching games. And so what I found is highlights aren't enough. A great example is Morata. Now, if anybody watched the Arsenal-Chelsea game, pre-season, specifically, if you watch the first 30 minutes, Morata had, I think, 6 chances. I think 4 of those were one-on-ones. And there was a penalty miss involved in that. He also had another 2 chances where he was needlessly offside. He was literally facing the line, sideways, facing the line of defenders, and he was offside. So now, imagine if he'd have scored then, okay, and you only watch the highlights, right? So all you would have seen was, oh, Morata scored, I'll get him in. You know what I mean? So eyes on is so important. So many City players looked rusty. They looked a little bit raw or rough, I'd say. A little bit lacking match fitness. There's also quite a few newbies there, so it wasn't really the team that won the championship last season, even though Foden did extremely well. Mahrez looks like he's full of potential, but at the moment he looks a little bit shy in that City shirt and a little bit too aware of the occasion of playing in the Community Shield against the FA Cup winners for the Premier League champions. But he's going to get used to it. And you can't expect a lot of those City players. Remember, they only had, as Pep said, six or so training sessions. So they will get better. And you have to say, Chelsea made Arsenal look very poor only last week. But City, even though they did look a little rusty and slow and tired and raw, they really did a number on Chelsea. They made Chelsea look very, very poor. So we'll have to see. Why Lowton and Goodmanson? So we've touched on Burnley a little bit, but basically, because of the Europa League games, they're probably a little bit more up to speed than the rest. Lowton got 3 assists, should have had 4 in pre-season, but he could be interchangeable with Tarkowski if I see that they're not attacking that much and I've got a free transfer in my pocket. Goodmanson, I like him. He did quite well, especially towards the end of last season. He really improved and really stepped up. He's on corners, he's on set pieces, especially now Brady's flagged again. They've got big men up the top, Burnley, so and they're also very very much a threat from corners and set pieces with the big lads at the back getting up. So if you're looking at somebody from Burnley who's going to get you points, probably it's going to be one of the defenders because they kept 10 clean sheets in the first half of last season. And probably it's going to be somebody who's crossing the ball in a lot because they've got big lads and they rely on set pieces and rely on headers. So that's why Lowton and Goodmanson. Foden was the best player in the City shirt, I think, with Bilver close behind. I thought Bilver played fantastic. I would say it was Bilver, Aguero, and Foden. Don't get me wrong, Foden played exceptionally well, but the other two, in my opinion, did things that changed the game a little bit more. Aguero did his job exceptionally. And Bilver for me was the best player on the pitch. Not just because he kind of defies expectations a little bit, but if you look at somebody who does something a little bit different, who when they get the ball, the crowd start to get on their feet because they think something's going to happen. There were times when Bilver was unstoppable. He was going through 3 or 4 Chelsea players going around them, and if you look at his pass completion rate, I think it was fantastic. Foden didn't get in the game as much as Bilver, and that's really the only reason why I consider Bilver to have had a better game. And of course, Aguero scored 2 goals, and probably the hardest thing in football is to score goals. Foden played very well there. Chelsea will become very, very, very scary, but like Pep at City, he needs specific players to play his way, and he'll take some time to get them. Yeah, I agree. If you look at, nobody walks into the Premier League and wins it, even with a lot of resources, and that's what happened with Pep. Pep's probably the best coach in the world. I don't think there's too many people who would disagree with that. But it took him a year to develop a playing style and get all of the right players. He inherited as well a very, very old team and underperforming team. Sarri as well. He's inherited a team of losers basically. No, they won the FA Cup. As a Leeds fan, I don't like Chelsea. Don't jump on me. But no, they haven't been playing well. They finished 5th last season. For Chelsea, that's not good enough. They got dumped out of the Champions League. They didn't play well enough. They were boring at times last season, and they also had a coach who was whinging all the time. A bit like Mourinho is doing now. But Sarri is a wonderful coach, and he's plays football in the way it should be played. And if you look at, that's why him and Pep have such a good relationship, And if you look at the improvements Chelsea have made, especially against Arsenal, who you have to think, okay, Arsenal and Chelsea were pretty much on a par last year. Chelsea was slightly ahead, but they were pretty much on a par, and they've got pretty much the same kind of strength of players. Arsenal have a better forwards, Chelsea have better midfielders and a much stronger defence. But Chelsea picked Arsenal apart in that pre-season friendly, and even though they were well beaten by City yesterday, their style, Sarri's style, has been imprinted already, and Barkley has been one that has really stood out for me. Barkley and Jorginho, but specifically Barkley, because he doesn't have that chip on his shoulder that he had at Everton anymore. He looks fitter and stronger and quicker than I've ever seen him, actually, and he looks very confident as well and aggressive in his play. And they're playing much quicker balls, making those nice little triangles that Sarri wants, and they're even running down the lines already. And you can see Jorginho's influence as well. If it wasn't for him, they would have lost very bad. They would have lost 5-0 yesterday. But he brought that calmness and that strength in possession that they've been missing. Bruno, great content, bro. Thanks very much, mate. Thanks for the advice. You're welcome. I personally think Robertson would be a better choice than Van Dijk, mainly because of ownership. Yeah, that's a really good point. For me, the big thing with Robertson was Alberto Moreno smashing the ball into the top corner against Napoli the other day and putting question marks in Klopp's mind. I think that Moreno is knocking on the door, and even though Robertson is by far the first choice, if we're getting into January time, probably that's the time that certain players will start getting rotated more. And I really don't see Van Dijk getting rotated out of there. But it's just a placeholder at the moment. Robertson could take his place. Again, yeah. I mean, again, Van Dijk has looked great in the air, but it goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier. So attacking teams, their fullbacks are more likely of getting attacking returns. They're not so reliant on set pieces and corners. So the big boys, they're not going to get so many opportunities to get attacking returns as the fullbacks are. Yeah, I mean, Robertson was in every draft up until that Moreno goal, and then it just put a little bit of doubt in my mind. Like, is Robertson gonna get rotated from time to time? Possibly. Is Van Dijk? Probably not. So it's all about percentages at the end of the day, but yeah, I mean, probably Robertson's gonna do better. So I am going away tomorrow, and I'll be back on the 22nd. But I will be hopefully doing some live streams from my phone on the move in some very special locations in the UK. And I will try, and I won't be able to do a stream on Friday, but I'll try and get one done, say Sunday or Monday, something like that. I'll be going to watch the Leeds United on Tuesday. And by the way, Leeds, if you are just a fan of the Premier League and you're not aware of Leeds United, the greatest team in the world, they have recently hired a coach called Marcelo Bielsa. When Pep was studying coaching, he and a friend went on a road trip to Argentina to learn from Bielsa. Poch was Bielsa's captain, I think, for Argentina when Bielsa was coach. So he's come into Leeds and he's made the players pick up rubbish for 3 hours, because that's the average amount of time that the average Leeds fan has to work to pay for a football ticket. So these players start to get an idea of what it costs the fans to go see them. He's got them in at 9 a.m. They stay there all day. They have 3 training sessions, one in the morning, one at lunchtime. They have a siesta in the afternoon, and their final training session finishes at 7 p.m. So he is working them hard, and it showed, because yesterday they played Stoke City and they played Stoke off the park. They already starting to look and feel like a Premiership team with him in charge, and I absolutely cannot wait for Leeds United to be in the Premier League next season. What do I think of Bobby Reid? I don't really think of Bobby Reid too much at all, really, to be honest. Speaking of Leeds, right, we got Kemar Roof from Oxford, and he scored 26 goals in League Two, I think it was, and we're in the championship, right? So when you have a player that scores as frequently as Bobby Reid does in the lower leagues, it actually doesn't mean that much until they get used to the league. So it's two things. Cardiff looks shaky, and I think that they will do incredibly well to stay up. If they stay up, I mean, Neil Warnock is getting an MBE or something. Seriously, like Cardiff, they've got some good players. Morrison, for example. But yeah, I mean, I'm not looking at them as potential FPL assets. Definitely not. If you want a cheap striker, I'm going for Jimenez personally. I did have Kamara as an enabler, but I think for the extra 1 million, Jimenez has looked fantastic in pre-season, and they already have a great team chemistry with Costa and Jota, and some potential with Traore coming in. Their style of play is very aggressive and very attacking. I think Wolves will be one of the more exciting teams to watch this season, to be honest. So yeah, I'm not thinking about Cardiff. Where can I get your mini league code? Mini league code is on the scroller thing. I don't know. Does it scroll too slow, or is that a nice speed? I think I might be getting old because I prefer a kind of a slow scroll rather than a burn your eyes scroll. But yeah, it's just I've put it down there. Yeah, we've just been talking about potentially winning a jersey for if you win the head-to-head league. If that sounds like a good idea to you, let me know in the comments. It's Joe says, come on Leeds. Charlie Sheehan, MOT. Come on guys. We've got this. We're going up. Going up as champions. Just talk about Leeds all stream. Yeah, well, I'm sure not all of the other FPL managers would appreciate me just talking about Leeds, but I've been thinking about setting up a separate channel where we just talk about Leeds. They are looking very tasty for promotion this season, I'm telling you. I'm going to the Bolton game, by the way, so very much looking forward to that. Keep those FPL questions coming in, by the way, if you're struggling with a couple of players, or if you've got any questions about my team or your team or promoted teams, let me know. I'm going to do this stream for about another 5 minutes, so get them in quickly and I'll try and answer your questions before I shoot off for a couple of months. What do I think of Fabianski? Well, Fabianski, I thought he had a cracking season, obviously, last year. He had a lot of saves to make, and that's where he got his points. His total points was a bit hyperinflated by the 3 penalty saves. So, I don't... a bit like Milivojevic, or whatever his name is. I don't expect him to get as many penalties as he got last year. I think they got 10 penalties or something. They were top of the league for penalties, Crystal Palace, and that's probably just down to Zaha's rapidity getting around players into the box and scaring the hell out of defenders. So I don't expect Palace to get that many penalties this season. I don't expect Fabianski to save that many penalties this season either. I think you get 5 points for a penalty save, so take 15 points off his total score, and then you've got probably a better idea of what he's going to do this season. I think West Ham have looked a little bit shaky at the back last year, and I'm not sure Moyes did that much to shore them up, although they have played a lot better, to be honest. And I don't think, what's his name, Pellegrini. No, I don't trust him either. So West Ham a little bit shaky. I think there's better goalkeepers out there. Personally, I've gone for De Gea because he's simply one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and it just makes sense. It's the same reason why I've gone for Aguero and Firmino, because I think that they're the best two strikers at the moment that are available and fit and in form. So, yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have had Edison, but then it takes away a slot outfield, and I think Man United's best asset is De Gea. So might as well put him in there if you're going to put anybody in there. He only cost 6 million. When you look at how much the others cost, he got 178 points, I think it was, last season, and he gets about that every season. So I would say for 6 million, you know, if you had a defender at 6 million getting 180 points, he'd be in everybody's team. So there's a reason why he's in 30% of people's teams, and I think he's just one of those consistent performers. Great idea with jerseys. New Chelsea kit would be nice. Sure, pal. If you win the head-to-head league, it's yours. I wouldn't use it to. I wouldn't have a Chelsea kit, to be honest, but better you than me. If you want to, if that's what you want, you'll get it if you win the league. I tell you, and tell me which name you'd have on the back of it as well. If I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be having a Odoi, I think. That's right, I was going to talk about him. So there's been plenty of talented players come out of Chelsea, right? Plenty of talented players. Kevin De Bruyne, Romelu Lukaku, Mohamed Salah, and they never get the chance, do they? They're always used and abused and sent out on loan. I don't want to see that happen to Odoi, because Odoi I think is the real deal already, and I think he looks hungrier and sharper and quicker and more aggressive than Willian, actually. And he doesn't have the experience yet, but how's he going to get the experience? By playing him, innit? Simples. So you don't send those players away or sell them like they've done with everybody else. You just put them in your team because they're good enough. Look at what Klopp did with Trent Alexander-Arnold in the team because he's good enough. You just do it. That's how you take a chance on young players. And I think Chelsea need to take a chance on Odoi because he's so good. Lead shirt for Charlie. That's the way, mate. Pontus for me. Very nice, mate. I'll be getting Barry Douglas, I think. I'm a little bit obsessed with Barry. Basically because Barry is one of my favourite names. There's not enough Barrys in the world. And also because it's just it started that, you know, the Bamford thing and everything. We've been waiting so long for a transfer. Anyway, don't sucker me into talking about Leeds. Mane or Eriksen? That's a very interesting question. I went on Fantasy Football Scout in the members area and did a comparison with Mane and Eriksen, and what you find there is that Eriksen's more likely to get assists, Mane is more likely to dribble and get some goals. So I think he can build on what he did last season. He only got 10 goals, and I think he's performed better generally in the seasons before. And remember when he scored that hat-trick in 3 minutes for Southampton? You know, he's definitely somebody who I want in my team, and I think he can do very, very well this season. Performances improved at the end of last season. He had spent some time out through injury, but he still scored big points. His confidence looked shook after he karate kicked Edison in the face, and then he got injured. So it took a little while for him to shake off those events. But after he got back, he finished the season very well and scored in the Champions League final even. So I think Mane can do very well indeed, very well. I'd love to have him in my team, but unfortunately I can't. Eriksen is another one who is absolute gold dust in FPL and has been for years. And unfortunately I can't fit him in my team if I want to have the two big players up front, as well as some decent defence. It's all about having a balanced team, striking that balance between those, like where you're gonna put your money. You know, if you're gonna have Mane and Eriksen and Salah in your midfield, then there's other areas that are gonna miss out. I don't want to wildcard early either. I want to save it like I did last season, like I would want to every season, because wildcard's probably the best chip we've got. So yeah, unfortunately I can't afford either of them, but yeah, that's the way. More volume. I think we're getting about maximum capacity here. If I start yelling into the microphone, it's not going to be good. I'm sorry. This is the best we can do at the moment. Is this going to be your team going into game week 1? Oh, Welchie. Yeah, nice to see you back, mate. Well, as we all know, tinker until the last minute, innit? So, who knows? I mean, Chelsea could sign Pickford, yeah? If Chelsea signed Pickford, he's going straight into the team, surely. You know what I mean? Like, so just, I mean, that particular transfer probably won't happen. All right, but there are plenty of loose ends for teams to tie up in the transfer market before I finalise my team for sure. So it's going to go down to the wire. Of course it is. But this is, what can I say? This is the best team I've come up with so far. I like this team. I love this team. Every time I look at it, it looks good. It looks balanced. There's quality everywhere, all over the pitch. There's quality on the bench. It means that if I lose any of those players, I can bring in quality players without having to take hits or lose points. Yeah, I'm satisfied that Bilver is going to get probably more time than he got last season, and given that he made the most amount of appearances out of any City midfielder, albeit most of those were off the bench, then yeah, I'm happy with him. He looks very good. Yeah, I mean, the only thing would be bringing Kane in, you know, if Kane starts firing. So yeah, but or whoever it is, whoever is on fire and looking tasty, you got to organise your transfers to make that happen, don't you? Do you not see a lot of value in cheaper strikers this year? Yeah, it's a good point. When you look at my team, there's not any of the normal cheaper strikers that people are going for. I guess I'm just looking at, if I look at my forward line and it's got freaking Tosin in it, I'm not liking it. You know, I'm not feeling safe and secure that Tosin can get the goals that I need him to. There were only three or four players last year who were really worth it, I think, in terms of forwards, and that was Jamie Vardy, Bobby Firmino and Harry Kane. There are times when there are some forwards that go through purple patches and you need to have them in your team. Arnie looks very good, but the fixtures are very doubtful, and I'm just not sure how West Ham are going to perform. And if I'm looking at it like this, right, if I look at, it's either, because Arnie's now a forward, it's either going to be Arnie or Van Dijk, let's say, or Arnie or Bilver. So if you're looking at it like that, I just feel like maybe there's a little bit more chance that maybe a defender is going to be more reliable. Premium defender is going to be more reliable, going to get 150 points for sure. and somebody like Bilver could outscore him. But there is a lot of there's a lot of value in the cheaper forwards. But I just think, Arnie, is he going to score 4 goals in a game? Probably not. Not with those fixtures. Is he going to score 1 goal? Yeah. 2 maybe, for sure. But is Aguero, with those fixtures, does Aguero look like he could score a hat-trick or 4 goals in a game? My word, he does. And what about Firmino? With Salah, Mane, Firmino, I think they're going to do even better this season. Scored 80 goals last year. So with these weaker forwards, there is a lot of potential in them. King is another one. I've had several drafts with those other guys in, but when I look at Aguero and Firmino up front, I think that looks good. I'm having a bit of that. You know what I mean? I feel safe and I don't want to tinker anymore because I can't do any better. It's like when I look at De Gea, I just don't think, why would I try and tinker with my team and get a different goalkeeper in, because they're already the best. I'm satisfied with the back line. I'm satisfied with the midfield. And I'm satisfied with the bench. So why would I tinker anymore? You know what I mean? Do you not see... we've done that one. It's Joe. Okay, please answer my question. All right, Joe. So Joe's done an RMT. I'll try. I was meant to feature some other fellas RMT. So I'm getting people generally to... if they want me to do an RMT, to send an email in. But seeing as you're a Leeds fan, we'll do it. Okay, so Fabianski, goalkeeper, very nice. I don't think he's going to score as many points as last season because I don't think he's going to save as many penalties as last season. Trent looks good. Wouldn't go for Cedric. Southampton look particularly shocking. Van Aanholt, yeah, very nice player. Personally, I'd go for Schlupp because Schlupp is playing left midfield, so a little bit further up the pitch, so out of position, and he's also 1 million cheaper. Salah, Son, so with Sonny, he's going to only play game week 1 and then he's going to leave. So I would never recommend putting in a player who is only going to play 1 game week, and you're definitely going to have to use your transfer for him because it's really like pre-planning a transfer, and transfers should be used retroactively. Reactively, sorry. On the other hand, Sonny could score 2 goals for sure, and he'll probably be hyper motivated because he's only got 1 game to play. But for me, it's kind of a waste of a transfer. If I would have Son in my team and I got 2 or 3 injuries, we're talking about hits after game week 1, and I can't see that happening for me. So it's about risk and reward. Richardson, I'm guessing you mean Richarlison. Richarlison's a good player. Did a video on him. He's got a lot of potential, but never really fulfilled on it yet. But he's only very, very young. Aubameyang, Firmino, Barnes. Yeah, I like the front 3. I like them a lot. Good one. Good team. So for me, get rid of Cedric. Get rid of Van Aanholt. Bring Schlupp in. I don't know who you want to bring in for Cedric, but anybody. You've got an extra mil then. Yeah. I'm with your opinion. Batshuayi didn't get his chance either. I hope this will be his season at Chelsea. Yeah. Batshuayi, RLC. They've got an embarrassment of riches. They've got far too many good players who just sit on the bench and watch Chelsea play badly. You seem to have many players from the same teams. If one loses, you'll be not doing very well. Yeah, that's true. But I don't see City or Liverpool losing too many games, do you? I think Burnley have started. Burnley have they're in form and they've started very well in Europa League. They look fit. In terms of Crystal Palace, they've had a fantastic pre-season. They haven't lost, and they've scored a bag full of goals, including goals for Schlupp and Townsend. I think he's made it a few assists as well, and he always gets forward, he always looks lively, he always wants to create something, got great chemistry going with Zaha. Wolves look fantastic, wiped the floor with the Championship last year, and I know that I go on about promoted teams not being reliable, but in terms of Wolves, I think we can say, okay, they're not going to be anywhere near relegation. The players are just simply too good. The manager and the system of playing is so attacking and strong that I think they're going to really take games to their opponents, going to put teams on the back foot, and that's all you've got to do with football. If you've got your team on the back foot, that's it, you've basically won. So in terms of players on the same team, yeah, I agree. I might have a couple of bad game weeks in general, but if you look at the teams that I've gone for here, triple Liverpool, triple City, best goalkeeper in the game, and then Burnley, who are probably much more match fit than any other team, given that they've already had a couple of competitive matches, and Crystal Palace, who are the informed team of pre-season. I think it's looking a bit of a tasty team. The more I talk about it, the more I'm convincing myself I'm not going to tinker. Robertson over Van Dijk, surely. Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm thinking about for sure. Yeah. Jacob, hi. How are you, mate? Jacob's basically been giving some great comments on my videos from almost like the first video. So welcome to the live stream, mate. Thanks for joining us. Team looks great, pretty similar to mine. Feel more assured now. Thanks. You're welcome, bruv. Anything I can do to help you out. Arnie is fixture proof. Yeah, I reckon Arnie is fixture proof. But it's about being in a strong, informed, attacking team or not. The good thing about Arnie is he's not expected to run back or defend. That's the kind of striker that I used to be, and I used to love that because I hate defending. So he's always there. He's always at the front. He's good at holding the ball up. He's also good at running on and take-ons. He's a great finisher, and he's really passionate and really aggressive, and quite selfish as well. So they're all great qualities of a forward. I think Arnie is a great choice. I simply think that Aguero and Firmino are better choices. That's all. I can't have everyone in my team, unfortunately. I would like to have Arnie in. I would like to have Mane in. I would like to have Eriksen in. But I can't have them all in, unfortunately. I'd like to have Mendy as well, but yeah, you can only have 3 from one team, and so it was either Edison and like Rudiger, for example, or Stones and De Gea, and I just think Stones and De Gea is probably a better choice in the end. All eat, aren't we? We are. What do you think of a fully fit Chris Wood? I don't think too much about Chris Wood. Yeah, it's somebody like, it's kind of very similar with Arnie. So Burnley's best assets, if you look at Sean Dyche, he's one of the best defensive coaches in the world. The way he sets up Burnley is just unbelievable. Closing down the angles, that they had the number of long shots against them, I think, and that's because they're so compact. They don't let you have anything, and you have to end up getting so frustrated and shooting from very far away. But they're not an attacking side, and if you're looking at forward players, you want forward players who are going to get a lot of chances and are involved in an informed attacking team, and they can put those chances away. So somebody like Morata, for example, Morata will get a lot of chances. He is now in a very attacking team, but I seriously doubt his ability to put the ball in the back of the net. So 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but it's not going to work. Arnie is somebody who can put the ball in the back of the net, but he's not going to get a lot of chances, and he's not in an attacking team. So 1 out of 3 ain't getting you into my team. You know, if you look at Aguero and Firmino, lots of chances, attacking team, can put the ball in the back of the net. That's why they're in there. Thoughts on Lucas Moura? Yeah, thanks for the question, Welchie. Lucas Moura, I think, had an absolutely fantastic preseason, and if you saw my first live stream, he was in my first draft, and the reason was he started 4 preseason games, and I think he got 4 attacking returns. So Moura is a great player, and when they bought him from PSG, it was a bit of a coup. Neymar didn't want him to go, and usually Neymar gets what he wants, as we all know, apart from at the World Cup, when he rolls around on the floor, just gets told to get up. So, but with Moura, it's something a little bit about Spurs, isn't it? Like, it's something, again, I can't have everybody in my team. I think Moura is not necessarily nailed forever, and I want to keep this team as long as possible. So that's why I've gone for Jota and Goodman and Townsend. I'm taking a little bit of a punt on Bilver, but he's in a team that scored 100 goals last season, so I'm not worried about taking a little bit of a punt on him. He's also quite an attacking player. So Moura, I think he could do well, especially at the start of the season. He doesn't have that much of a history, so we don't know about him, and we really don't know how Spurs are gonna play, which Spurs side are gonna turn up, because in pre-season they've been Jekyll and Hyde. They really have. And that game the other day when they took the kids over, I thought was really reckless and ridiculous from Pochettino to play all those kids and lose that badly for no reason. It's just a waste of time. So I think Moura's a good punt, but for me it's a little bit too risky. What do I think of Ward? All good. Keep them questions coming, Joe. I'm probably going to do 10 minutes more, and then I'm going to, as you can hear, my voice is going a little bit, so going to do 10 minutes more. I feel sorry because I won't be here to keep up the channel, and I mean, I just started 2 weeks ago, and we're at 500 subscribers. The channel's going amazing. I did a controversial video on Chelsea's predicted lineup, and that got something like 25,000 views, but I think that's because everybody's a football expert and wanted to tell me what they thought in the comments, which is also great because we are all experts. We've got a computer, so we've got access to or you've got Sky or whatever, you've got access to watch so many football games. But for me, starting this channel 2 weeks ago, I had no idea how it would go, whether it would go well or not, if anybody would listen to it. I had a target of 100 subscribers before the start of the season. We're at 500 now. So it's crazy. It's incredible. I mean, if I was staying here and making videos, who knows? We could have got to 1,000. But the fact is, I need to have a holiday. I need to go to England. I need to see my beloved Leeds United play with their new fantastic manager. And oh my God, did they look good yesterday. What was the question? What do I think of Ward? I think Ward had an absolutely fantastic start to last season. He played so well. He's got a little flag at the moment. And Lurton has looked very, very strong. So that's the only reason why he's not in my team. He could have very easily been in my team if Lurton hadn't have looked so strong, or he didn't get. I think he just got a strain. I don't think it's anything too serious, but yeah, Ward's good. He's a good lad as well. He's like a little. I think he's Irish, isn't he? yeah, he's like a little bulldog. Gets into it. He's quite aggressive, and I like that in a footballer. Charlie, is David Luiz a good option at 5.5 as a way into Chelsea defence without dropping 6.5 mil on Aspie or Alonso? Okay, so we had this question a little bit earlier, but gonna answer it again. Like, basically, just look at Luiz. Like, if you watch the last two games, the Arsenal-Chelsea game and the Community Shield game yesterday, you'll notice that he did not play well. He really did not play well. Especially against Arsenal. He got subbed off at half-time by Sarri because his passes were going stray. His head wasn't in the game. He had a free kick that went into Rose nearly out the stadium. It's no good. Luiz, no. Maybe if he starts performing, maybe if he stays on free kicks. I think there's better 5.5s out there. I'm looking at John Stones right now. He looks a fantastic 5.5, especially if Man City don't get that midfielder that they're after. Because Pep said basically Stones is going to play defensive midfielder or holding midfielder if they don't get that extra midfield player that they want in their transfer market. So Stones is looking great to me. He had an absolutely fantastic World Cup, scored 2 goals in a game. And I think he could. He's only going to build on that. He's a determined lad. He really is. Ward or Lowton? Yeah. I think at the start, Joe, you've got to go. You've got to go Lowton. But I mean, don't take my word for it or anybody else's word for it. Like, we talked about this a little bit earlier as well. Like, trust your own eyes. Get eyes on. Highlights aren't always going to do it, but if that's the best you can do, then just watch as many highlights as you can. But obviously, we talked about this a little earlier as well. Morata missing a hatful of chances. If he'd have scored one of those chances, then maybe you would have just seen that on the highlights. You know what I mean? So you can also, if you can't watch the full game, you can look at stats and highlights. And there was, Lutton, he just played very well against Aberdeen, basically. And you should see his cross for Vokes. It was superlative. Lovely spin on it. Vokes got his head on it, crashed into the crossbar. So I can see Lutton getting a few assists. I think he got 3 assists in one preseason game. Fair enough, they were attacking more, but yeah. Bielsa Ball is sexy. He is. He really is. If any of you guys who aren't into Leeds United, you want to go and watch the highlights of Leeds versus Stoke City, it was beautiful football. What would your best back three be if you have 15 mil? Best back three if I've got 15 mil. 15 mil's an awkward one. So 2 6s would be 12, and then you'd have 3 million left over. So I'd have to go 1 6 and 1. Wait, is that right? 1 6 and 1 5.5. You're making me do maths. Why'd you do that? We got 4, so 5.5 and 5.5. So a 6 and a 5 and a 4. 4 would be Wan-Bissaka. 6 would be Van Dijk or Robertson or Mendy. And the 5 could even be somebody like Alexander-Arnold, but I think he's at risk of rotation. Or Lovren, who's less at risk of rotation but won't start. Or probably Lowton. So, yeah. Probably be going Lowton, Robertson, Wan-Bissaka. There you go. That was some quick maths, wasn't it? Still got it. Jeez, GCSE maths was a long time ago, but I've still got it. It was just numbers divisible by 15. Never mind. I can be impressed with that. Which players are you most excited about doing well for you? Which players am I most excited about doing well for me? The most I've got a lot of hope in Aguero. I've got a lot of hope in Salah. I've got a lot of hope in De Gea. He better be good because it's difficult for me as a Leeds fan to pick a Man United player. But he is a fantastic goalkeeper, undoubtedly. I'm very excited by Jota. I think he could barnstorm the Premier League this season. I love Stones. I love the fact that he looks like that fella off Peaky Blinders. I loved him at the World Cup. England were beautiful at the World Cup, and he was particularly strong with those headers. Fantastic. One of my main things is Jeffrey Schlupp. The first time Schlupp scores and Crystal Palace get a clean sheet, oh my gosh, I am going to go mental on this stream. Absolutely mental. Schlupp is somebody who I identified early and could not stop talking about. It was him and Barry Douglas in the first week the game came out, because I'd seen in the Palace pre-season that Schlupp was playing left midfield. I'm in a WhatsApp group with a few of these guys who are watching on the stream, and yeah, I was just going crazy about it. Did you see Bielsa before the game talking to Sky? Yeah, it was absolutely hilarious. Bielsa's seriously the man. He is the man. He's the godfather. Do you think Wan-Bissaka will play? He will play. 100%. He's nailed. Daniels, Vince Chapman said, Daniels, Azpilicueta, Wan-Bissaka. Daniels won't play, mate. Unfortunately, Daniels he's not an option anymore for me. They bought £10 million Diego Rico at left back. So when you think about Bournemouth, are you thinking about Bournemouth spending 10 million on a left back? Probably not. So they're definitely gonna play Rico. I think he didn't play in the latest pre-season friendly, but only because he's just come to the club. So I don't think he could have expected to walk in, but I think he did get subbed in, and I'm sure he will play ahead of Daniels. Daniels looked slow anyway for me last season, and Bournemouth don't keep that many clean sheets. They could do. Historical data doesn't always equal what will happen in the future. But if you look at the informed teams, one of the informed defences is Crystal Palace. And simply because Saka is so good. So whenever Saka is fit and he's in the team, they've got a much higher chance than any other bottom 14 club of keeping a clean sheet at the moment. So Daniel's got to change. Azpilicueta, yeah, he's fine. He's not going to get the attacking returns he's got the last couple of seasons because they've changed from 3-5-2 to 4-3-3. So, and he's going to be one of those players who's expected to defend a bit more than, I think if you think about it, Alonso is always going to get up the wing there and attack. So Azpilicueta, he's not Zappacosta, you know what I mean? He's much more defensive minded. It's just that he got a lot of assists last season because when Chelsea were pushed up and pushing their opponents back in deep into their own half, and they're playing 3-5-2, then he often found himself in the first 10-20 yards of the opponent's half, and he was putting those early crosses for Morata, and that's how they linked up and they scored quite a few goals. I think he got 6 assists last season, so I think if you're going to go 6.5 from Chelsea, probably Alonso is the one who's going to get you more attacking returns. But I think Rudiger, for me, looked great. Sarri practices a lot of corners and set pieces, and Rudiger is just a beast in the air. He's 3 meters tall, and he's got an excellent, powerful header. And if you look at his movement before corners and set pieces, he stands at the edge of the area and makes those late runs, which means that when he arrives at the ball, he's got his full speed and full momentum going at it, which makes him very likely to score. I would say that he's going to score more goals this season. I did a comparison with Rudiger because I was looking at Joshua King, and King and Rudiger got the same amount of points last season, 112, but Rudiger played 6 less games. So I think even though King's looked better, and he probably looks like he's going to have a good season as well, I think Rudiger, if he plays, he's going to score more points than King. Wan-Bissaka, yeah, fantastic. You have to have Wan-Bissaka in your team. I'm looking forward to Schlupp and Pereira. Vince Chapman, yeah. Vince Pereira has played the most amount of minutes for Man United in their pre-season. And the thing is, he looks like a short-term player in the team, and he looks like a little bit defensive apart from his free kicks. So I'm not sure how good of an FPL asset he will be, but as a 5 million punt, you're probably not going to do. It's not going to do too much damage. It's not a big risk. Charlie said Mendy and a 5.5 or Stones and a 6. Well, this is the dilemma I was having earlier, mate, because I was thinking about Mendy or Edison or Stones or Rudiger or Lewitz or someone like that, and or Stones and De Gea. So for me, if you're looking at a 6 in your defensive line or defensive half, I'd be thinking about De Gea, or at least it turned my head, because if you're looking at big point scorers and trying to get big point scorers in your team, and you want your double figure point scorers, so your Agueros and your Salahs and all that, but you also need your players who are going to get you consistent points, and De Gea certainly seems to be somebody who's going to get consistent points. I don't know how good Man United are going to play this season. I don't think they're going to play well, but I think they won't concede too many goals. Wouldn't care if you streamed off your phone. Thanks, mate. Yeah, I will do a couple of streams from some very special places, hopefully, if they've got Wi-Fi, the places that I'm thinking of. So, yeah. By all means, tell your friends to subscribe and stay tuned and hit the dilly-ding, dilly-dong button. Would you have Mendy over Stones if you had funds? Yes. 100%. But I have stretched the funds so thin and spread them all across the team, including the bench, and I feel like I can't get anything anymore out of it. If you look at every area, I mean, okay, I could probably go for a 5.5 goalkeeper and get Mendy, but then we're looking at which 5.5 goalkeepers do I trust. I trust Edison. I trust Alisson. Not going to trust Courtois. I'm not even sure he's coming back. And that leaves Lloris. And yeah, I don't trust Spurs at the moment. New stadium, 9 players away. And anyway, Lloris can look shaky at some of the best of times. Look at the World Cup final. So yeah, if I had the funds, I'd definitely get Mendy in. Harry Kane. Wow, the Harry Kane. Harry Kane has joined the live stream. Thanks for your support, bro. I really appreciate it. As you can see behind me, I also support you, my friend. Firmino over Mane. I doubt Mane will have less points this year. I think Mane is going to be absolutely fantastic, mate. The trouble is, there's not many forwards around the 9 million mark that I trust. So it's either going down to an Arnie or a King, or just sticking with Firmino and putting the, you know what I mean? Like it's either putting the eggs all in midfield. I think there's great budget forwards, but to be honest, in my forward line, I just want to look there and have a couple of big ones, and I'm not gonna have Salah, Firmino, and Mane. You know, I'm not gonna have all three of them. You know what I mean? So, but it's a difficult decision, mate. If you were 9.5 mil, Harry, I'd put you in, and I'd definitely get Mane in midfield. Robertson or Rudiger? Robertson, for me, definitely. Chelsea, they're in a figuring it out mode this season, whereas Liverpool look the real deal. But Rudiger's a fantastic player, no doubt. Aguero fathered him yesterday, made him look like a fool, made him look like he didn't know what he was doing. But that's because Aguero steals a yard on you before you've blinked. Do you have a plan for Sterling, Kane? I don't have a plan for Sterling. I've got a plan for Harry Kane. Kane's going straight into my team. As soon as he gets back and he's on fire, he has to be in the team because there's nobody more consistent. If you look at the points for the last 4 seasons, there's really only him and a couple of other players who are right up there with 200 points a season guaranteed. So I think you have to have him. But it's just very difficult at the moment with Salah. You know, we're going to know a little bit more about Salah, you know, in the next few weeks. Will he be man-marked? Will he be brutalised? Will he be given absolutely no time? Will teams put 2 players on him? This often happens when a player has an absolutely runaway season. Teams often wake up to that player and they don't give him any time and they smash him as soon as he's on the ball. So it could go 2 ways, you know. Salah could be, of all of the players, you know, this gets bantered around so much. So many people say he's the next Messi or he's the next Ronaldo or whatever. And there's very few players who are actually going to be the next Messi or the next Ronaldo. Salah has a huge opportunity to be like that because, yeah, and the other thing is, whenever he gets the ball in pre-season or whatever, for Egypt or wherever he plays, the whole crowd goes crazy. We know that he can do something every time he gets the ball. So, but if it looks like he's going to get bullied out of the game, then we have to think about quickly switching him for Harry Kane, and that would be an easier way to bring Kane in. But yeah, I do have a plan to get Kane in. Do you think a strong bench is important? One of the probably the most undervalued aspects of FPL is the bench. People too willing to take risks, too willing to gamble their points away. Points are so precious. Imagine, like, think about the World Cup. Okay, points are even more precious in the Fantasy World Cup. But I came second in Austria by 1 point. 1 point. And I only took 1 hit. And that was to avoid using my wild card in game week 3 of the FIFA World Cup Fantasy. And you think about that, you know, I would have been number 1 in Austria if I hadn't have done that. So, but on the other hand, could have turned out well. So sometimes you got to gamble. But if you look at the top 50 players, they only do about 5 hits a season, and that's purely because of emergencies. So you need a bench, strong bench. Look at my bench. I've got 3 players now on there that could walk into my starting 11 almost any game week. Stones isn't in there because they're playing Arsenal. I think Arsenal could do well, but yeah, apart from that, and I don't think Southampton are going to score against Burnley. Yeah, that's about it. And Fulham probably might not score against Palace either, but I don't want to double up Palace defence in a starting lineup. And I think Wolves are going to do very well against Everton as well. So, I mean, Jimenez could easily come in to my first team, and that's what you need. You know, it's better not to think of it like, oh, points wasted on the bench. It's better to think of it like, if I get injuries, I'm fine. I'm cushy. Villa are beating Hull 2-1. Okay. Yeah, I don't care about either of those teams, or generally, I just care about Leeds. You know what I mean? Like, but towards the end of the season, that's when I'm like checking all the championship scores. But yeah, Villa have spent heavily anyway, haven't they? They've done well. Game week 2, what do you think the result will be between Palace and Liverpool? That is a great question. I think that's going to be one of the games of the early part of the season. I think there was a thrilling 3-3 draw a couple of seasons ago between them two. I think it could be something like that very easily. Yeah. But anyway, guys, I'm going to call it a day there. My voice is going. I'm tired. I've had a big day. Got a big day tomorrow. Flying out. So that's my team anyway. I hope that you've enjoyed this first 14 days of videos from me. I'll have a couple of weeks off, and I'll be back on the 22nd of August with probably another live stream and then a lot more content. What you can do if you want is you can email me the Fantasy Premier League Guide at gmail.com, and you can subscribe and like and share and tell all your friends about me and all that good stuff, and when you click on the subscribe, click on the little dilly dong button, and you'll get notified when I go live, and so you won't miss it and all that. And yeah, and look out for me over the next few weeks, and I'll see you all in a couple of weeks' time, and best of luck for the opening 2 game weeks of the season for all of your teams. I'm sure you'll do great. All right, thanks very much, guys.